T. What's up, buddy? Oops, I can't hear you.
Here. There we go.
Yep,
Yep.
good.
I
I
was
didn't
on
know
mute.
if it was me or you. I've actually got roofing work going on. I think you were the one that recommended Crisp. So I
Wow.
put Crisp on and they couldn't hear the roofing at all when I was on my company meeting today.
Oh
So
no.
but when I
Chris.
couldn't hear you, I was like, uh-oh, did I do something?
No, no, no. I was just saying I'm meeting with your interview guy tomorrow, at 2:30 my time. So
Thanks, dude. I
yeah.
appreciate
No, honored, man.
it. We kind of got this, it almost feels like summer to me. I don't know why. The weather seems warmer. It feels like summer already. It's not even
Wow.
spring yet, but and the kids are on spring break. Sev, good to see you, dude. Um,
Good
do
to see
you
you
have
guys.
hey good, what's up, dude? Do you have any breakthroughs, Tony, you'd like to share?
Actually, it's kind of funny. I just thought about this. I don't know as much of a breakthrough, but so literally I'm doing this campaign right now, and we're up over 300,000 at this point. I'm at like 63 sales and they're just piling in right now.
Oh, that's great.
And but so funny. So when Jim and I had partnered up on a we had partnered up on a Beamer deal with one of the other woos, and it just pooped the bed. And literally she showed up in my inbox, that partner. Now, mind you, we had ended because I'd used the whole, hey, no harm, no foul. My peanut butter just didn't mix with your jelly. And she was like, Tony, I love that saying. She said it affirms that I'm still doing stuff right. So it was a great way to end the relationship. She showed up in the inbox on Gmail because she was actually interviewed on my partner's show. And so I was like, hey, it's Tony. Oh, the guy whose peanut butter didn't mix with your jelly. She responded back. She was so funny. So it's like, never burn a relationship if you can help it, right? Because they're still kind of connected and partnered. So,
Absolutely. This business is all relationships. That's
yeah.
great. So 300,000, quarter million is gonna be like your bottom now. You're like,
Oh,
oh,
dude, I'm ruined. I'm completely ruined. Yeah, I'm at $310,936 right now.
that's awesome.
And 162,194 of that is cash in the door right now.
Fantastic.
Yep. So I'm ruined.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I hate to put you to shame, Tony.
Oh, please do. I'm excited. I love being the dumbest guy in the room. Believe me.
one one of my one of my students has just signed a deal with it's kind of like mass torts over here in the mass torts, how they have like a deadline in the States where all of the kind of
We
claims
call
have to
them,
be in by
what do
by a
we
certain time.
call them over here?
I don't
Class
know.
action lawsuits, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the lawyers jump on this and they just go nuts, try and get as many leads as they can.
Yeah.
They put them all together, and then they take a million on a aces and throw them at the big company, and then the big company just keels over and pays out, right? And this guy, he got in with a lawyer, and they have 1.5 million people on their database that need to have their documents collected by the end of July, which means that they just couldn't physically do it, right? Like with a call center or whatever would be a nightmare. So he's got an Android, um, and these people are already opted in and raised their hand for this offer, right? So they're already in, and the Android's going through and booking, getting the documents from about 30 to 40% of the people. And he's getting paid £100 per document that's collected back, and he's going to bank £39.5 million by the end of July.
That's awesome. Yeah. So he's getting about 40% of the 1.5 million,
Yeah,
the 400,000, yeah, times 100, right?
yeah,
So
it's
I can't,
£39.5 million. He
yeah.
reckons he's based on what he's got at the moment, and there's no other way they can do this without him. So it's money, but I think they like the money's just so ridiculous that paying that is actually it's just okay, And
Yeah.
DK advanced this weekend, but I mean, it's not in the bank, but he tells me it's pretty much a done deal. He's just like, I've just won the lottery. it's unbelievable, you know. So
It's amazing.
yeah,
And
that's my win
that's
for the week.
the tip of the iceberg, right? That's only one
That's what
mass
he
tort
said.
case, right? Like,
That's only one.
that's it. There's a class
Yeah.
action over here in the US. I don't know exactly if they work the same, right? But they probably got deadlines and everything too. So
By the way, Dan, my only saving grace in that, I don't feel any shame. I think it's amazing. I love being a smaller guy. My only saving grace is this is a 6,500 person list, and I've
Yeah.
done 4 emails. So
Yeah.
that was my other breakthrough I meant to mention was like doing more with less. But yeah, like that's my only saving grace. But
That's
otherwise,
epic.
yeah, I
No,
made
no,
it.
no. And also it's money you got. I'm not even getting any of this money, but it's still my win.
Totally a win, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, mate.
but holler at Bob. Bob, it's about time that you dressed up when you come to see me. I'm
Right.
glad because you know I do that, right? Like I'm always dressed up for you. I put a shirt on, I comb my hair, and I brush my teeth. I sure appreciate you dressing up a little bit today.
You're welcome.
I like that blue and yellow. It's awesome.
Right.
Anybody else have a breakthrough that they would like to share?
I did the you already know mine, Travis. I already did
I do. I want to hear it. Yeah, because it's like that's how I am.
the coolest part about that. So I have 78,000 cash collected when the thing ended Monday. Well, I haven't even I've been so slammed. I know this is terrible, but I haven't even messaged everybody so far that bid. I
Yeah.
just had one of my VAs go through every post that I did and pull everybody and put them into a spreadsheet and their links so I can go. I'll get it. I'll definitely get it caught up tomorrow. I just had a busy week, so I got to still hit up a bunch of people. There's still at least I think there's 100 grand still sitting there,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
So I got to do that. But the bigger breakthrough, it's not like the money's fun, because that's
Yeah.
like why we do this stuff. But the cooler piece to the whole thing is all of the messages I've gotten from influencers that are just like they're just like they just have never heard of this auction concept. And like I got a message. I've been getting messages ever since it started, but there was a big influencer event in Utah with some pretty big names yesterday. And one of the speakers messaged me, text me, and he's like, just so you know, like we're all talking about your auction post. So, and I haven't really let the cat out of the bag too much yet. As far as like, cause I don't know what you have up your sleeve, Travis, as far as like maybe a licensing deal or something.
Make it
But
dreamy for you. That's all. That's how I do my licensing deals. I do a dreamy licensing deal. So you
mhm.
tell me when you're ready. You tell me what would
I
like.
just think I really can sell. I do feel like I can sell it.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what you have. Like, I don't know what the cost. I don't know what any of it is.
I don't either. I'm putting it all together right now. Right.
Okay. Well, I'll wait until you get it done, but I want it to be somewhat high ticket. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be
Oh yeah.
cheap.
No, no, we can do whatever we want to on that, but you're probably going to be part of that package. We'll do a little interview with you and
Mm.
that kind of thing, right? But it's such an easy concept, but there is little nuances to it, as you know, as I kind of was your auction wingman, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
little nuances to it that really, uh, uh, like you went from 19,000 to 25,000 because we saw, oh, there's a ceiling level there, let's give them a little sweetener, a little bonus, and that popped it up, right?
Hmm.
Which we didn't do it just for that reason, but look how you had three more bids at 25K that came in. Those are three more customers, or probably lifelong customers, right? And that's kind of the reason why
Yeah.
you but yeah.
The other
um,
side to this is these people will buy. It's only a 90-day. Like I have the $5,000 package. That's the
yeah.
90-day group coaching thing that you and I put together, and then the bigger thing. But every one of these people will re-up, and whatever I sell next, they'll buy.
Absolutely. Yes. So just the Cliff Notes version. Is anybody finding this interesting? Give me a hands up. Just the Cliff Notes version. So he did an auction. Basically, he auctioned off a one-on-one for 90 days, right? You have to do exactly the same thing. But basically, the principles are he auctioned off a one-on-one for 90 days, right? Got I don't know how many responses. Are you up to 100 responses, something like
Yeah,
that?
something
Yeah.
because I did several posts. So yeah, there's a bunch. Well, plus two, Travis, all the people that skipped and went right into my DMs.
Yeah, that's right. And so like most of those leads are 5,000 plus, right? So let's say he's got 85 people say, oh, I'll give you 5 grand, 10 grand, 70, 75 grand, like all these people. So what we do now is like after the person, and he's already collected the 26,000 from the auction winner, we did a group. Hey, sold the one-on-one for 90 days for 26 grand, but I don't want to leave everybody hanging, right? Everybody's going to be a winner, right? It's going to be 10 grand for the group, but I'll give you a credit for your bid, right? So I'll credit you 5 grand. It's only 5 grand for 90 days on a group. Pop, 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 right? So of course, those people, like if you're only to ask, they'll go into a $25,000 or $50,000 thing at the end of that 90 days, right? So you've got that. So really not that of a stretch to pull 500 grand or $1 million out of one uh auction, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the cliff notes on that. So simple concept. And then all the great benefits are really stuff you don't even really see, like he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
People sharing the post, people talking about you, people right that even if they weren't part of the auction, they see the numbers and now your value perception has just went up. I think, and I'm speaking a little bit for Matt, but I think we pushed the limits of his own value, what he thought his own value was and what he could do, right? It's one thing to think that I'm worth something, but it's another thing to see all these people bidding 5,000, 7,500, 10,000. Like it's crazy, right? 12, 13,000, right? 15,000, like holy crap, right? And to see that, right? Kind of peels a new identity, right? From being inside of that washing machine of reality and data hitting you in the face, right? If that makes sense. So
Imagine if I do another one. Let's say I do another one in 90 days. I mean, the proof's already there, so the bids technically should go up even faster.
that's right. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that reach out.
Fast is actually not what you want, right? Because you really want the lead. So if it pops off, I told you at the beginning of that auction, if it pops off like 10 grand or 25 grand too fast, people will get shy and they just won't bid, right? So you almost want that slow thing, right? So you might even hold back a little bit at the beginning when you do your auction, like hold back some of this good stuff you're going to give them. And then as the auction rolls on, do that extra stuff, right? Because you want all those bids to come in and then you can sweeten the pot and get the bids bigger, right? Because again, the main purpose of it is to get all those leads that you probably got more leads in one day, more good leads in one day than most people get. I'm kind of stretching here, but maybe in a year, order by a long shot, right? Like, so there's just some things to look at there, but that's awesome.
The other piece to this is I think the reason why so many people are like the influencer side are talking about it is in order to do a $25,000 sale in the real estate space, that's a closer getting on the phone and closing hard with a process, like a sales process.
That's the other thing that happened in the auction. It's the world's greatest sales letter that you didn't have to fucking write. Right? You didn't have to write a bunch of T1s. You didn't have to write a sales letter, like because it's written for you, right? It's because it's a great deal. Oh, here's why I want it. Oh, this is a steal, right? Because it's all done for you, right? And you got all that stuff. So it's really an efficient way to do it. Now, here's what's even better. Like you need to take some of your Facebook group and put them in school, dude. In school, now you could have your tapper just go in and tap all those people because they don't have to be friends with them, right? And so Matt could be out of it. And he said, hey, I'm reaching out for Matt. Everybody, he wanted to know everybody how much he appreciates you, and everybody is a winner, right? Right. And then you could follow the same process, but then Matt could be out of it because they don't have to be part of your profile and you don't have to worry about Facebook throttling you or anything like that, right? So
yeah. I definitely need to get pushed over to school. And you posted that, and then there were a whole bunch of people from that group started following me on Facebook too. You know,
Yeah,
But I'm going to be working these leads for a while. There's a lot of them and there's a lot to do. The
I
cool
love it.
part is the tapping. I got, like when I'm doing my first taps I've ever done. But the cool part is there's people that saw this is like the biggest breakthrough, and it might be the most important piece. A lot of people saw it go to that price and they were messaging me, I can't pay that price. I have $5,000 to work with. What can I get? And then like, well, it just so happens I have this thing. It's $10,000, but I'm going to
I
give
want
you five.
everybody to be a winner. This is over. I'm going to get back with you. I'm going to show you just for making that bid, right? Oh, that's awesome.
So that tapping that 5,000 is like the easiest thing ever. It's pretty cool.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
the whole thing was cool. It was just a cool deal.
that's awesome. I love it. Cool. Good breakthrough day today. And I'm a little bit talky today, but I've got some roofing going on, but I've got I've got a new software called Crisp that's actually filtering it all out. So you guys hear any pounding or yeah, it's pretty dang awesome. But any other breakthroughs you guys like to share? Any boys that have to leave? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I'm thinking about this auction stuff. I was wondering, and I might be talking out of the left side of my mouth here, but like, how cool would that be to do for like in a partner situation? Like, I'm thinking about my Beamer deals, right? Like, how cool would it be to do? So, for an example, Johnny and I talked to somebody yesterday. We just locked in the deal. If I mention the name, you know who they are. It's a woman, but her husband's kind of like the behind the deal.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about already, probably.
Yeah.
Last name starts with an L.
No, I'll just tell you, first name is Jen. Last name starts with a G. Yeah, I'll message it to you. Anyway, so yeah, so they're super popular, but they've got like they're doing live events and all this kind of stuff, and they wanted us to do the first date on a live event. And I was like, no, not going to do that, right? But they've got a $25,000 mastermind that we're going to probably start out with first. But then I started thinking about this, and I was like, I had two ideas actually. I was like, one, how cool would it be, like, because I've got all of my talk about a breakthrough. I've got all of my all of my Substack peeps, and I did my AMA yesterday. And like, what if I did like an auction? I don't know, because an auction doesn't always have to be bidding money, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking, I was like, well, man, what if I did an auction around like if I wanted to fill people up with Beamer deals and like do an auction around referrals, for Beamer deals, and like people making introductions, and for everybody who makes an introduction, you get this one who makes, the biggest introduction with the largest company, whatever, like you get. So I'm thinking outside the box on this. I'm probably going to try that out here next month.
Love it, dude.
So I thought about that as an idea, but then also thought about just running the auction kind of like, I don't know how I'd pull it off Beamer style, but like doing it with a Beamer with a partner.
Like your platform is going to be what you got to look at.
Yeah.
If you try doing a Facebook group, like you're gonna have to have a message a page first, right?
No, here's what I would do. I've already made the decision, and I was going to do this on one campaign, but we decided not to. Is I'd run them all. I would take all those people and I'd put them in school first.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I would run them to school. Then I would run that. And I'm thinking, well,
you might even just make that the whole reason they come in. We're going to do this auction. You're going to be able to get a $25,000 mastermind or whatever whatever you want to bid, right?
Yeah.
And other things, right? But it's only going to happen in this school, right? Or happen in this little thing, or if you want to be part of it, right? And it may not be huge, but you might get 20, 25 good people in there, and you're going to be able to really, really work it, right?
And at 25,000, because their mastermind's 25,000, I'll probably tack on 10, so it'll be 35. And they've got like mounds of like awesome, paying for bonuses or whatever and stuff. Like, I think it probably, anyway, those are two ideas that I'm playing with right now. So
you might try something like Matt did. Not too, I wouldn't like give him a full say we're gonna do 90 days or 30 days one-on-one. You just bid on it, right? And see how and of course don't make it about the deliverable, right? That's the big thing. The biggest mistake people are making in the auctions, and Matt made this mistake at first too. They're not putting the benefit up at top.
Right.
Put the benefit up at the top first, right?
Cap.
And so then you get all these people say, oh, I would do, if you could get people to say I would do 25 grand for a 60-day one-on-one, then it's gonna be way easier to say, hey, let's do a year for 25,000. We're just gonna happen to do it in a group, right?
Boom. Yeah, that could be hot.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
Okay. That's cool. All right.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do I get you partners and promote you, right? And I've already had people reaching out like 10 grand. I hope it's not over 10 grand, right? Those kind of things, right? So
Yeah.
you
People in
know,
my AMA yesterday, they were like going, Tony, like they pop. I probably had about 15 people on there, and they're like, Tony, so this thing that Travis is going to be doing, like, what do do you want to take bets on how many of them, they were saying like it's going to go for 25 grand. They were like, what do you think? And I'm like, kind of already have some insights. I'm not really going to say, but I left it alone, of course. But they're all like saying it's going to be 25 grand. People are going to be bidding and stuff like that. So
I've got some cool things we're going to drop as bonuses once the bidding slows down too. So I'll make
yeah,
it super, super good, and they're going to get huge value out of it for sure.
cool.
Um, awesome. So you guys want to talk about the $1 million power hour, right? Or $1 million 5 hour power hour. The 1 hour power hour sounds more doable, right? Um, I think thought is a wonderful tool. Most of the time, I think human beings misuse the tool of thought, though. So our big thing is like, don't take your thoughts so seriously. I think most of the time we use thought to worry, right? To go into scarcity mode, to uh, wonder if we're good enough, and to create whole stories and characters for ourselves. I don't think any of those are the highest and best use of thought, right? Um, but I found this one use of thought to be probably one of my higher and best uses of thought for solving life's problems, making money, and those kind of things. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Um, we're mostly focused on money, but you can use these on lots of other things. But really, this was born out of what I call Sago's law. I haven't shared too much with Sago's law with you guys, but Sago's law pretty much states, and I haven't been able to find anywhere, unlike the law of attraction, I haven't been able to find anywhere where it doesn't hold true. But Sago's law says um, the person who can use something in more ways will get the lion's share of that thing, whether it be an asset, time, money. That's basically Sago's law. The person who can come up with more uses for something will be the one that gets access to that thing. So I'm not gonna spend this whole call on Sago's law, but this is kind of where it's from, right? Most people work for somebody, they give somebody else their time. Why? Sago's law. Because an employer or somebody's figured out how to do more with their time and be more profitable with their time than they know how to do it, right? And of course there's money transacted and those kind of things, right? But it really goes down to Sago's law. I just purchased a newsletter, actually a medium and a newsletter. There's about 15,000 people on that newsletter. There's a little bit of overlap there, so that may not be exactly true, but there's about 15,000 people on that newsletter. He's only pulling about $300 or $400 a month out of that newsletter. Only way he knows how to monetize it is really cheap subscriptions and selling some ad space. So I get to pick it up for 5 grand. I will be able to run one webinar to that list, and I'll be surprised if I don't do 5 or 10 grand just from that one webinar, right? It's webinar virgin. I looked at, he's not running any webinars, right? Like there's just so many different uses I have for that. I can launch my book out to that. I can do all kinds of things. I can combine them with the group I already have, right? And get a whole bunch of subscriptions out of them. If I only put in 2 people in Ronin, like I'm good, right? So I have so many different things to do with that newsletter, right? That now I'm ending up with it for what I think is a bargain price. To him, it's a really good price because he looks at it as I do $400 a month with it, right? money the same thing. We give our money. Some right now, as I say this, some 65-year-old lady is signing a $10 million check to somebody 35, a 35-year-old hedge fund manager. 35 is their average age. And she's given him the $10 million that it took her whole life to put together. Why? Because he knows more. He has different ways of using that money, more ways than she has of using it. So that's kind of Sago's law. The person that can do more with something, can utilize something in more different ways, can put it to a higher and best use, is going to end up with the lion's share of that thing, that asset, or whatever that thing is, right? And money too. So the thinking process is, how do we come up with more uses for something? This has made me more money than anything else. To take something that somebody's using and finding a different use for it. Dan, I guess, had to go early, but Dan's he's got an AI bot, right? That's basically, he can feed a database to, start conversations, and get leads back and have them fill out forms and stuff, right? He's figured out how to use it for class action lawsuits, or one of his people that is like, right? And 37.5 million pounds is going to be generated from that, because he found a different use for that AI, right? A higher and better use. Does that make sense? Matt's how he makes his living with real estate, right? If he knows, hey, I can subdivide this piece of land, right, and zone it commercial, right, he's going to end up with that piece of land. Or if he knows, hey, I can turn this one house into 4 apartments, and get triple the rent I would get with one apartment, right, which makes my mortgage. So it all comes down to, how many uses can I find for something? Are we tracking on the same page so far? We're going to go a little bit more on how do we do that. So got kind of 3 steps to this. We could add some steps if we wanted to, but there's basically 3 steps. Step 1, probably one of the most important steps. You must assume that there's a higher and better use for whatever you're looking at. You got to assume that there's a higher and better use than what you're already using it for. And even better, I think, is to assume that there's a quantum leap in higher and better use than what you're currently using it for, right? So I'm being a little bit braggadocious on myself, but Matt does pretty good with his Facebook posts, right? But I don't think he does $100,000 good, right? With the but by turning that post into an auction, right, a higher and better use, like, he's quantum leaped what he's done with that post. So this is not easy, right? And sometimes we just say, oh, there is no higher and better use, right? And I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's not useful. So we always want to assume that there's a higher and better use, a massively higher and better use for our time, or whatever it is that we're looking at, right, to get more out of. Today I've got roofers and they're bang, 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 banging, right? Which is kind of annoying, but I can say, what's the higher and better use of all this banging? Well, maybe I can make my calls a little bit better long term by finding out how I can filter out that noise, right? So I remember somebody, I think it was Tony or somebody, like, hey, there's this thing that you can use that filters out the noise. Or maybe it was Grayson, I don't remember, but it's called Crisp. And like in 15 minutes, I downloaded Crisp and did my company meeting. They couldn't hear the hammering at all. And it also gives me a transcript, right? I'm like, damn, by using this banging that you guys can't hear, I found a higher and better use for it, right? Which is going to give me transcripts, better calls, right? I can take those transcripts and find a higher and better use for those, right? Does that make sense? Like, so just that one thing, right? I always got to assume there's a higher and better use. So step 1, assume there's a higher and better use. I'm going to give you step 2 and step 3, and then we're going to go over in step 2 because step 2 is kind of like the meat of the sandwich. So step 2 is use the 5W plus 1H method. Anybody heard of the 5W plus 1H? Anybody? Nobody went to journalism school, I don't think, or took any. So 5W plus 1H is journalism. That's how they write news stories. Who, what, why, when, where, and the 1H is how. Who, what, why, when, where, and how. That's the 5W plus 1H. And then 3 is we want to test slant experiment. So we want to assume a higher and better use is out there. 2, we want to brainstorm using the 5W plus 1H. And 3, we want to test slant experiment. This is super simple, but hard as fuck. The good news is it becomes easier with practice. So kind of the trick here is take these 5 W's and 1H, and you guys can do it any way you want. I'm just going to tell you how I do it, right? And you can play with it. I'll take one of those W's and I'll brainstorm for an hour on. So I've got a book coming out, Make 'em Beg to Buy, right? So I could brainstorm for an hour. And I don't want to say brainstorm, sometimes I'm using Google or I'm looking through something to get triggers, right? But I can brainstorm for an hour on who are the different who's, like who would buy more than one book? Who would buy hundreds of Make 'em Beg to Buy or thousands of Make 'em Beg to Buy, right? So Make 'em Beg to Buy is a pre-selling book. It shows people how to pre-sell, right? So one of those would be affiliate networks. People that have affiliate networks, they want their affiliates to sell more. They would, if I made the book print and cheap, right? If I made it like $4.99, they could easily order 1,000 of those. That's $5,000. That's a drop in the bucket. Does that make sense for them? Right? What about insurance companies that want their insurance people have? Maybe they could pre-sell their insurance, right? I'm sure these big fat insurance companies might order 100,000 books, right? It must be nice to do a $500,000 little deal there, right? If I did that, there's also chapters in the books, right? I could probably slide in an extra chapter, right? Or inserts, right? And get other people to ride along with that, right? To cover some of those printing costs for me, right? I get the printing done for free, right? By doing it like that. But so we were looking at like, okay, so who could we change? Who could we get different uses out of? Does that make sense? Who's probably one of the easier ones, right? But AI. Okay, so I have this tool that we can feed in somebody's old database and spit new leads out. Who would have the most use for that? Who would benefit the most, right? And you could go through the yellow pages, right? If you still have a yellow pages, right? And kind of look at those and just get different ideas of like who, right? Attorneys, holy crap. And you would be in the A's, right? Attorneys, holy crap, what could they use it for, right? Sometimes it comes to you serendipitously through your people, right? Does that make sense, right? I love the what. So then you could take another power hour, right? If you didn't come up with any great ideas there, right? Or even you could take those ideas and add them to the next power hour, which is what? What could we do? So one of the big breakthroughs I've shared with you guys many of times, right? But when I had my email list full of people I was selling stuff to, right? And I realized that most of them were affiliates. What else could they be other than subscribers? Why couldn't they be my affiliates? Why couldn't they be distribution for me, right? So that's a what. What else could this be? You guys all know my pull myself up on my bootstraps fax advertising thing that I did, right? What else could a fax machine be other than something to send boring business shit? What about lunch menus, right? Now, I didn't come up with that idea on my own, right? I did it by using triggers, right? I went and looked at in the library, right? And looked at like, okay, what's some different ideas, right? But basically, I turned fax machines into a distribution network and then sold access to that network. So that's the what, right? Um, Here's another one that's great. We all sell courses, and we usually only think of them in one way. We sell a course, and it's like, oh, it's to teach somebody something. Is that the highest and best use of a course? Maybe, but not if you're following the steps here. To assume there must be a higher and better use. So here's what sold millions of dollars of different programs, is realizing a course could be used to bond a dad with his son, to bond a dad with his daughter, to bond spouses together, because they could learn something together. Dad could be the real estate coach to his teenage kids. Part of the reason why I got into land when I did it, I'm not into it now, is because I was excited to teach my son. It's part of the reason why I'm not so excited about it now, because he just didn't like it. Right. Right. So that's a higher and better use for a course. I'm not saying not to sell it because they teach something, but if they can get a higher and better use out of it, right? We've done it with mother-daughter, right? So we do, all we do, it doesn't cost us anything. We just give them extra access. We do a BOGO, especially for when we do BOGO, buy one, get one, right? You buy access for yourself, give it to somebody else that you love, that you want to do this business with. Does that make sense? A higher and better use. That's a what example? I don't know if you guys are following Ronan, but I made a post this morning. They just went goo goo gaga. So instead of using a community just as a way to sell something or deliver value, I use my community to help me dial in an offer. And so I made a post about 8 hours ago, and I've already got 65 comments, very, very long comments. It's also an invisible auction. Nobody really sees that, but it's also an invisible auction because I said, hey, if I did X, I would give you a super, super special deal, but how would you price this publicly? If I was going to price this to the public, so they're giving me all these, anything from $297 a month to $5,000 to $10,000, right? Are those good leads? Do you think if I reached out to them and gave them a really way better deal than they said, they're gonna do that, right? But I'm using it more, and they've brought up some great points that I didn't think about. Like I made a mistake in calling it Netflix style. They're like, ooh, that just cheapens it to me. Good fucking point, right? And also I see the biggest objection that I'm gonna have to cover, right? Because it's a library of a lot of my content, which is like 700 different things. Like I'll never be able to get through all that because the way they're viewing it as a consumption, right? Is this something to consume, right? Whereas I can shift that for them and be something that they can use to produce money and produce income with. And by the way, I was doing some research. There's 100 billion hours of content on Netflix. I'm probably only going to ever watch half of it. So like, but I'm never going to give up my Netflix subscription, right? Even though I'm never going to get through that content, but they've given me the number one objection, right? So I've literally compressed, Tony, like with the way we do tapping, right? We tap one-on-one. I've literally compressed probably 3 months of tapping in one post. Boom, I got where I should price at, what their objections are, what they like about it, all these different things, and some other things that they're thinking about it in 8 hours in a post. Is that a higher and better use for a community? Absolutely, right? And I couldn't get some of the genius stuff they put down there for me, right? So I can use it for that. So that's kind of the what. Why is very interesting. It's one of the harder ones to do. Changing the why for something, but it's also one of the most powerful. So here's what I plan on doing. So I've got this campaign called the Cherry Picker campaign. And the cherry picker is basically you do a real simple anchor post, then you drive some of the other posts to it, and you get people to comment if they're interested in it. Then you just cherry pick the ones that you want, right? And it's usually like for a, a $5,000 offer or a $10,000 offer or whatever. Usually you do them over a weekend. They're really cool because you don't have to reach out to everybody. You just cherry pick the ones that you want, right? But I call it a cherry picker, right? But how could I change the why from that? Usually I make from 5 grand to 20 grand really consistently when I do it. So here's something I found when I was doing my research and focusing on how I could change the why for this. The average consumer in America is 5,000 on has 4 credit cards. On each of those 4 credit cards, they have $5,000 roughly on those 4 credit cards. So they're roughly $20,000 in credit card debt. So why could I not call this the credit card debt buster campaign? Right? That's just one. It's like, oh my God, I've got 2 credit cards with 10 grand on it, right? Bust those credit cards out. Just a different why for the campaign. Does that make sense? Coming up for a different why for something. Super powerful. How about instead of buying a course to learn something, you buy a course to get your dad's approval? Do you think that's too crazy to work? It sold a lot of courses, right? It's like, ooh, especially stock trading courses, right? Like this, the one, it's like, man, if I could learn how to day trade and show my dad like my gains, like Matt did, maybe my dad would be proud of me. You think that shit works? Oh my God, does it work? Right. So these whys, right, are extremely powerful. But again, you have to sit down and whatever your mode is, or you like to go. Sometimes I like to take a walk. Sometimes I like to write. Sometimes I like to Google the shit out of stuff, right? Or go back and look at um, emails or PMs that people in the market, or go back and look at groups, right, that people are in, or buy or skim books on Amazon on the table of contents and see what they're talking about, right? So I like to get stimulators for these brainstorm sessions. Where changing the where, that's a fairly simple one that we can do, and there's different variations of it, but one of the things you can do with content is move it from one platform to another platform, right? My newsletter started out, my Set in 6 newsletter started out me just taking posts from the Facebook group that did well, and I put them in there, right? Boom, right? Just repurpose those, just changed the where, right? Why it is beer and a hot dog at a baseball game costs $25, right? When why do they tell 7-Eleven that you'll never be able to sell a gallon of milk for $3, which was they considered highway robbery back then, right? But they did because it's convenient. It's where they place those locations. So changing the where can change the utility of something, right? And the last one, we covered the 5 W's, and the last one is the 1H, the how. How are we using something? Can we change the how it's used? I've made a few bucks changing the how of why you use DMs, right? If I use DMs for sales, right? It changes, that's kind of work, right? Changing the how. Using a GDoc, huh? Like we just put documents on there. Why couldn't we put a sales letter on there, right? So I was using a notepad before GDocs. Like, why can't we just use damn notepad? I have to learn HTML. Don't have to do anything. It's super personal, right? And that personal really kind of has an advantage, but that is just changing the how we deliver it, right? Big, huge quantum leaps can be in there. And then if we take a look at all of our brainstorm sessions and we start mixing and matching, these, like the where. So what if we had a boot camp, instead of learning the course at home, we did a boot camp where they brought their son, right? So now we're mixing those the whys with the where, right? And what about the when, right? What could be perfect about the when? Maybe we did it during spring break, or we do it during summer. So, hey, we're having a summer class, summer real estate investing class for dad and kids or for the family, right? So you can teach the whole. Does that make sense? Does that make it more valuable than just, hey, here's another course? Make lots of money with the real estates, you know, like wholesaling and stuff, right? It's way more powerful. It's like, wow, I could actually give my kid this education that they're not getting in college. What about that? The anti-college, it isn't that a use? Like, oh, my kid's not going to go to college, but I still want to teach him something super valuable, right? Does that make sense? So it's almost a different, it's a different what? It's a different type of education, right? So when you start combining all those, so you take all those different ideas. Let's say you've got, you know, 2 or 3 ideas in each one of those categories, and then you start combining them. It's like, whew, right? The possibilities are limitless on this, right? So the third step is we want to test and experiment. All this will make you exactly $0 if you leave it in a notebook somewhere, or you leave it in your head, or you leave it wherever you're going to leave it, and you don't put it out there and test it. So it's got to hit the light of day, right? Half the time I'll get some good traction on it. I'll make a little bit of money. And I like to get people's wallets if I out. That to me, like saying, and you get them to say first, right? So like I'm not saying I'm gonna do this, but in my group, the post I made today off of my idea that I put out there really quick. So I've got 60 people now that's saying, hey, I will pay, or I think a good value is between X and X. How valuable is that? Yeah. Right. So now, but if I follow up and say, hey, thank you so much for your feedback, it's really valuable to me. I want to make you a super great deal. What price do you just let them pick what price do you want to do? You said 10,000. I don't need 10,000. Make me an offer, right? And I'll get you raw access to it. That would be better. It's, oh, I would do it for 1,000. Perfect. You want to do PayPal or you want to do credit card? And I want to get their money, not because I need their money, but for the confirmation of it. And it may not be a money confirmation thing. This has other uses other than just money, right? Does a girl like you? See if she'll go on a second date with you, right? All these kind of things, right? Will my new uh way to lose weight work if I just substitute my lunches with a salad every week? Let's try it, you know, for 2 weeks and then get on the scales or do whatever we got to do and get and measure those results of that experiment. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna do a recap and then open it up for any questions. I'm having a little hard time hearing because of the banging, which luckily you guys don't hear, but I'll just turn my volume up really high. So Sago's law, right? Sago's law, we want to find a higher and better use for something, right? We'll end up with it. The person that's going to win is that can find more uses for something. Step one, we got to assume that there's at least one higher and better use. There's probably dozens, right? We got to assume there's at least one higher and better use. Even better is assume it's a quantum leap that we can make higher and better use. Step two, use the 5 W's and 1 H method, right? Which is the meat of it. It's where it's gonna be struggle for you for a while, right? You're gonna get better and better at it. Once you get better and better at it, it's like, holy crap, you can just come up with ideas like, and then you'll be an alchemist when it comes to money or whatever result you want, right? Step three is realizing it's all for naught unless you put it out there and test it and put it into an experiment out into the real world. Don't make it personal, right? You can always go get more ideas. It's never ending, right? Like nobody likes it, fine, right? Or maybe they like it a little bit, right? If they give you some great, like, don't call it Netflix, right? Don't call it Mojo Flicks, because I automatically think like $20 a month. Good point, right? And if I would just kept it to myself, I never probably would have learned that if I didn't push it out there fast enough. I'm just not smart enough to think about all this shit on my own, right? So you want to put it out there and then observe and adjust. Now you might want to come back and say, okay, so now the higher and better use is this thing, right? Again, assume that there's a higher and better use, right? With the quantum leap you just made, assume there's a higher and better use with the next quantum leap. Does that make sense? So you can always be quantum leaping. It'll make it sound a little easier than it really is. But when you focus your thinking, to me, that's the best use that's an appropriate use, not the best. That's an appropriate use of thought, right? To bust through our constraints with leverage, using the 5 W's and 1H. A little bonus thing is an advanced. You guys are really familiar with timer. So if you guys need other stuff, you can do the same thing with timer. You can use your 5W, 1H, and then apply timer to it as well. But I practice just with the 5 W's and 1H. And then you can introduce timer. How would I do this if I was trying to shrink time or improve identity, or reduce, if I had to do this in 15 minutes, what would I do? Right? Those kind of things, right? But it kind of gets advanced and might hurt. Might hurt. It may be like trying to lift 225 if you haven't been bench pressing in a while, right? And so I don't want you to be sore the next day, but start with the 5 W's and 1H, but you can also use the timer in the same way. And then combine all those elements. You will come up with some original fucking shit, right? That nobody's heard of, that people go goo over, like what's happening with Matt's auction, and people are just going, I've never seen anything like this. Well, why not? Why can't we make this into an auction, right? I think it's way better than doing it on an eBay auction. When I first thought about this, I'm like, oh, it's going to be eBay account. We'll just auction. Like, why do that, right? Why not use all the social and everything that we got right there? Because then we can play, right? Like half the fun is what happens in the comments and lovingly pitting them against each other and adding those things in there, right? You can't do that really on eBay, right? So awesome. So that's the $1 million power hours, right? For original thinking. Come up with original shit. Any questions, thoughts, feedback on that?
Some top 1% right there.
Thanks,
I call that top 1% thinking and action. Not too much. I don't know what percentage of people take the time or are even aware of that process, because let's face it, it's a multi-layered process that you just described, to be able to find new, better, different ways of their own program, their own product, how to present it differently, who it's for. I mean, you're right. It's going to hurt because and you're already adding timer already. I mean, but I can see why you started by saying take an hour, because I can almost guess some of those W's might take longer than an hour, because it's hard to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
But that's awesome.
Absolutely. It's like anything, like you'll start to get on a roll, right? And it's usually when you run out of ideas that you want to push yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's usually after you run out of ideas that your best ideas come to you, right? And sometimes we want to get out of our head. And again, we want to like go to the web, or go like, what are they doing in groups, right? And get stimulators, right, that we can tie things to, right? It kind of expands our breadth there. Thanks,
Well,
Lynn.
I'd even argue, I'll finish by saying, I'll even argue that just having a conscious awareness or interest in seeing things in a different way, different perspectives.
Yeah.
For me, I'm the guy that wakes up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why didn't I think of that early? I mean, it wakes me up. So just for me, having that floating around in my world will bring different visuals, will bring different ideas to me.
It's interesting. I think you could probably it wouldn't be as effective. I don't think. I think you could probably skip step 2 if you really assumed that there's a higher and better use,
Yeah.
right? And you said, okay, you just brainstormed like, 3 different things, and you just went out there and tested them. You'd probably be ahead of like 90% of the population, right? But I just kind of wanted to give you a framework that you could really like pull some of this out
Yeah.
of, and sometimes like may not need all those W's. You sit out with a who, and you get a great idea that leads to a why. And you're like, oh, that's it, right? And then you just go out and experiment with it. Like, oh, let's put it out there, right? And then you can go back to brainstorming if you want to, right? But you just kind of put it out there. However that put it out there is, it could be just reaching out to somebody. Hey, I just had this idea. Would you be down for this? Yeah, I would be. Like, hey, you give me a deposit, like, right? But you want to kind of get that, like, not just thought, but the data, right?
Yeah.
Confirmation on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Travis,
What's up, dude?
hey, I missed that. Did you guys hear I had a bit of a domestic in the house? You guys didn't hear anything, did you? Oh, that's good. I thought I might have unmuted myself.
Your high brains going like,
Yeah. Sorry, Tommy, I'm just going to talk. I've got the kids, so I've got to go quickly. I like the idea of the bringing the son or the wife or whatever. That to me would be a great fence tipper in a rainmaker.
yep.
I think it's really good. I didn't catch the other stuff, but I know what you mean.
We were talking about you too, because you come up with a higher and better use for the AI bot, right? And then those mass torts, like that was right. Who could use it and get the most benefit out of it? Like an attorney, right? With mass tort cases that have a deadline, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
Hey, there's a deadline for that. Like a lot of certification courses, like probably in Grayson's line of work, they have they must do continuation or continuing education credits, and there's deadlines for that. So it's a great time to start selling some of your those kind of things on certifications before those come out. Insurance the same way, financial planners, a great time to sell education is before those continuing educations. But yeah, we were talking about like, between like a roofer and a mass tort attorney, right? Much better and higher use of that
Yes. Yeah.
AI bot,
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, I think I don't know what you're like, but my head's all like, the problem is my head's constantly thinking about ideas and creativity around what I can do.
Yeah.
And I do that too much, because it takes me away from the present moment. Like that's what I find. I'm like,
I was going to talk about that, but I didn't want to make this too crazy. Like you want to have an aim and a direction, right?
Yeah.
Like know what your aim and direction is, and then say what is going to help me with that aim and direction, right? Or whatever that objective is. Like my objective is like, how can I make the most leverage money that I can, right? So I can either use or discard ideas that go outside of that making leverage money, right? So that's why I say no to a lot of things. I had somebody reach out to me and say like, hey, I want to give you part ownership in my software company, which to little Travis, that's very, very fucking attractive. Woo, I could be part owner in this software company, right? And blah, 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 blah. But it's not going like they're gonna want me to push buttons or show up, right?
Yeah, it's a tangent.
That's not what I'm gonna do, right? Even though I can make a lot of justifications for it, right? I just told the guy, hey, if you can figure out how I can do this without pushing buttons and not have anything on my calendar, right? I'm open for it. But I think you'll be better served by somebody that wants to show up, right? And give you more ideas. So I actually took myself out of the running, right?
Disqualified yourself. Yeah.
Right. That was a nice way of saying for me, right? I think you'd be better served by somebody else. It wasn't as Scroogey with his time, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We wouldn't know like what's our main objective? Where are we going to? And then marshal those higher and better use things from stuff we already have that gets us to that objective. Or you're right. You're going to be going 50 different directions for sure.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weakness of mine. For example, but I don't think this is a bad one because Joey's doing my rainmaker, and I had this idea that everything that you're learning, why don't you? And I've commissioned him to write like a book for me, like based on what we're doing. But he's doing it. I'm not doing any of it, right? And we're going to turn it in, put it up on Amazon or whatever. And
Yeah,
I don't
you
know
just
how much.
put your name on it. I love that
Yeah,
idea. You put your name on it, maybe do a forward or give some advice in there, right? But you've got the name, right? And
yeah,
so I love that, dude. That's awesome.
yeah. So I've given him. I'm probably going to give him a little bit on the back end as well as the front end. I paid him a lump sum, and he's going to have it all done ready for Amazon by the 15th of June. That's going to be exciting.
Dude, I love those investments because that will just pay off for you for
A long time.
yeah. Like where else can you make those type of investments where you can pay once and just get paid for years,
Yeah.
decades even,
Well, this is the thing. I want it to be. I mean, we can talk about this another day, but I want to start thinking about what the name of the book. I mean, this is the AI revolution, right? It's coming. It's going to change the whole industry. So put it in the crock pot for maybe a few weeks' time about what you think that might be, if that's okay, Travis, like the angle or whatever. The other thing is I've sold 4 spots out of 10 for Mallorca. And I've been busy because Nat's been away and I've been tapping and writing the emails and stuff. And I haven't thought too much about it. I haven't put too much energy into it. But it's not like writing follow-ups is not like a traditional, a shark killer type thing, really, isn't it? Because you're not getting a lot of conversations back and forth or objections, right? It's just like, oh, it's too expensive, or I live too far away. I can't think of many things to kind of write without like just talking about Mallorca every email for the next 2 weeks until it's sold. Do you know what I mean? Have you got any ideas around that?
those objections are what you need to bring back, right? Like, hey, I know, like one of the T1s that we have is like, hey, I know it may not make sense for you to get in a plane and contort yourself and have to deal with TSA, get fondled and all those kind of things, right? The little bottle, I always said little bottles of liquor are nice though, right? But here's who it might make sense for. So you handle that objection up front, right?
Yeah,
So it's those very things that you might lead with, right? But that's why selling live events are such a pain in the ass.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not enjoying it.
the other thing too that really sells a live event is what are you going to do for fun? Fun is what sells them. They come for the
Mm,
fun and they justify with the shit they're learning, and most people don't sell it that way.
mm,
So this is why Rebecca crushed it with hers. Like she just made it, hey, you're gonna come down, we're gonna have some Texas food, we're gonna go sing by the campfire, we're gonna like da 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 da.
yeah,
In between, we're gonna like, I'm gonna teach you this cool stuff, right?
yeah.
Mm.
I've just
Uh
found we're going to do a wine tour and have suckling pig at a Spanish vineyard. So that is something that we'll probably write about a little bit.
yeah. And you just have to try those different things. You never know what's gonna hit. Like we had a really hard time selling one, and the guy said, we're gonna go play some ping pong. And so I
Yeah.
brought it and I just crushed it. Like, oh,
Mm,
ping pong, oh, right,
yeah. Yeah.
right. The way it does, right?
How do you
So
transition that? How did you transition that to ping pong? Right? What did that email look like?
it's like,
Like,
hey, you just do it. You do it personal, right? You just make it personal. Like, hey, like I'm a dude that likes to have some fun, so it's not going to all be like me standing up at a whiteboard, scribble, because I
yeah.
just want to put a marker in my own damn eye. So in between, we're gonna go play some ping pong. Like I defy
Yeah.
you to beat me at ping pong, right?
Yeah. 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 Okay.
If you can
All
beat
right.
me at ping pong, I'll pay for your dinner, right? Like or whatever. So
Okay. Yeah. Just have some fun.
with it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Just a bit
Dan,
distracted.
one of the things that always worked well for us was that we talked about, with their permission, of course, like who was going. So like once we got a few confirmations, I could say like
Yes. Yes.
so and like if you have hitters coming, there's going to be other
Yeah.
hitters that want to be with them. So that's one angle.
Yes. Very true. Okay, so attendees that are coming, I've got some good guys coming as well. That's a good point. Thanks, Grayson.
How can you get
Um,
community and reputation in there? Right.
yeah, yeah,
So hey, we're gonna take pictures. I don't know if you're gonna do it or not, right? But one of the things we sold a lot of VIP days is it doesn't cost that much, but have a limo there to pick them up. Like when you come down the escalator, we're gonna have a limo there to pick you up. I'm not saying you have to do that, but right,
yeah,
appeal their identity and their reputation. Or you're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you this plaque you can take home, right, and show everybody that you came to the Majorca event. Like I'm playing with doing a Mojo certified thing, just make them Mojo certified. I think a lot of
yeah,
people, because they're so, those kind of things. But um, like how can I appeal to their identity and their reputation? Right.
mm,
That'll get a lot
mm,
of people out. Fun, everything but business, right?
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
most people try to sell on those things, right? Like um luxury, identity, reputation, fun, right? Meeting a person that changes your life forever, right?
yeah,
Those kind of things.
yeah. Okay, cool. The other objection I'm having is because unfortunately the Roya people are doing so well. They're like, why would I come out to Mallorca? Because like I've got everything I need in Roya. Or what's different? Do you know what I mean? And I'm usually
They're
just
selling
like,
the business part too hard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I said. It's about relationship. I'm a relationships guy. Come out and hang with me, and like I'm a connect. We can connect, and I can connect. Yeah,
That's the thing too. Like, I think a lot of people, especially in our business, I think are lonely, man.
yeah.
Right? Like, their wives don't want to hear
Doesn't
about
care.
it anymore. Right? Like, so I feel a lot of business owners, if you just listen with kind ears, like they open right up, right? Whether you're talking on Zoom or whatever, right? Because like their employees don't want to hear about their problems, right? And all those kind of things. So if they've got like a kind, wise pair of ears, like holy crap, right? But yeah, I
Mm,
would everything but like here's everything you're gonna learn,
no,
right?
don't want to
Uh
do that.
yeah. Um
Okay.
I sold more spots to my stuff by showing them my sofa, my white, people even still to this day call it the famous white sofa. And I
Yeah,
say, and I made an arrow. I said, is this going to be your spot? Right. And then
yeah,
I pictures of dinners, right, from my past events, right? And I would talk about like it's so weird being at dinner and like an outsider wouldn't even understand what the hell we're talking about because we're talking about T3s and IBQs and tapping. We have our
yeah.
own language, and they want to be part of that. Does that make sense?
Mm,
Right?
There's actually lots to write about.
Yeah.
How are you? Because is it like how does that sit with you when you've only got like 10 spots to fill, but you're emailing your own like a massive list about it every single day? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Don't take it personal.
don't take it
Mail
personal.
more.
It's kind of have
Mail
to do it.
mail more, man. Like
Yeah,
it's and here's the thing too, what you don't understand too, maybe, is that you're building up pin-up demand for like an online version, right? Like
Roya.
they're probably asking you, like, hey, are you going to be doing an online version of this? Especially if you went too hard on the business side of it, right? They were like,
Yeah,
hey, are you gonna do an online version of this, right? The first time I did online big ticket email mojo, I sold out all 20 spots. I think I opened it up at my coffee and I was done by lunch. Sold all 20 spots because I built up so much pin up demand on the
yeah,
live, right?
yeah,
If that makes sense, right? So,
yeah.
um,
And the emails will be fun as well if I'm putting in pictures of the vineyard and like the last one in Ibiza. People warm to me even more, right? If I'm just kind of adding personal flavor there. So
yep,
yeah, that's cool. That's
yep.
cool. All
Hey
right, mate.
Tim,
Listen up.
I want to like take you guys for a ride in my Porsche, right? Like whatever. What yeah, especially if it's something unique to you, right? Like um those kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Good
like
stuff.
like Bob Grayson and Tony can attest. You come over to my house, we're gonna watch some TV, right? Like we're gonna watch some, that's just the way it is. Like we're gonna drink some scotch and watch some TV, right? Or something like that, Then we're gonna go have some conversation.
When's that happening, by the way? When am I coming over, Travis?
I don't know, dude. Like I'm gonna be doing something in October. Of course, I'm gonna invite all you guys, but like my Ronin are gonna be coming out. I'm gonna invite you guys, but I want to do something smaller. But uh, Jeannie's, I'm gonna be shit in my bed if Jeannie's not ready to do it by October. But like I don't feel
Mm.
comfortable leaving her by herself right now.
Yeah,
So
fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
No drama, mate. All right, I better run anyway. The kids are driving me
Dude,
nuts tonight.
all right,
Okay,
man.
take care. Bye bye.
Any other thoughts on the power hour, thinking power hour, or we want to change over to anything you guys want to talk about?
I was just going to mention that, because I'm going through this whole thing with my Beamer stuff where it's like, it's great. Like, it's great to end up with like 100 grand in a month. That doesn't suck. But when I'm like, there's the, there's the good side of it. I get to keep it all. But when you're a one-man band, right, you're sitting there hatching an account for 13 days, or hatching a partner thing, a campaign for 13 days. It's a grind, right? So, and I've gotten some help, which, I started asking myself, what's my highest and greatest use of my time? So when you start about timer and using this whole process, it's obviously good for just your own personal business and experience, obviously for coming up with great ideas. This is more of a framework. I wasn't thinking like this when I started thinking about the auction with deals, where I could auction up and get deals referred in, and then I could give that to all the people in my Substack that are, and of course they're all Ronins, but I get a percentage, you get a percentage, whatever.
Yeah.
But this obviously framework is great for also in the inside of my business. Brandy's coming on board with me pretty much full time to help me with a bunch of stuff and documenting some things and whatnot. But I love this for just even using it on your own business inside of it, just to kind of help to free your time.
You take all this IP that you've got once you run the campaign and put it in their flow. You got
That's
to
what
get
I'm doing.
unders, you got to get in any place in their flow that they can get, and then people just reach out and you just give that to your tapper,
Yeah,
right?
that's the step that we're going through now. Yeah.
Because the whole reason you're doing it, you're going through all this pain to dial in their offer so you can
Use it.
use it later on, right? And then
Yeah.
you just put junior tapper in there, and will they convert the same amount? Probably not, but
Mm-mm.
but you get that flow
Yeah.
going. That's really what you want to do with it. So
Yeah. Especially if I like, because one of the things I was going to do is they've got so much YouTube content. I could turn a bunch of that into books,
yeah,
get that out there.
yeah.
Question on that. When you were doing the book stuff, like when you put it up on Amazon, for an example, are you just counting on organic reach on that, or were you running ads or anything like that?
Um, yeah, I mean, what I'm gonna do with my books is I don't that's just gonna be an
Oh
extra.
yeah. Yeah.
I go find places we can sell 500 or 1,000 books at a time,
Yeah, that's
right?
your focus. Yeah.
And or bundle them,
Hmm.
kinds of different things, right? If you're on Amazon, you can't have any upsells or any of those kind of things, right? So
Well, the
uh
thing I thought about is because I've had in the past, I've had so much success. Well, when I met you,
yeah,
I was launching my clients not even finished program or just to other people's audience. So I thought once I put these into ebooks, yeah, that'll be on Amazon, but then I could get other partners of theirs to promote. They've got a whole affiliate network, probably about 150 people.
that's exactly what you want to do. Like you want to integrate. The biggest thing about the book is got to be it's got to solve a specific present pain, right?
Mm,
And then so you go find somebody that has that audience they have that present pain, and then you can bundle that book in, right?
uh,
And whatever the mechanism is, right, to reach back out, and that goes to your
book.
tapper or to into your community, and then you do
Right.
whatever with it, right?
Okay. Got it. Makes sense.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways of working that out. Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Grayson, how you been doing, dude?
Living the dream.
See
Doing good.
your boys walking around getting big and stuff.
Yeah, and the little girl's getting big too. So yeah, it's the best.
You don't look like you're
But
getting
I've
done.
been seeing I've been kind of lurking in the Ronin group and just seeing lots of good stuff. So I'm like, you know, I maybe miss you guys, so I had to come hop in and see what you guys were up to.
And you look younger than you did. Like, that's pretty amazing.
A haircut and a shave does wonders.
There you go. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun in Ronin and I'm just gonna be doing more and more stuff with community stuff. Um, especially as I get older, I don't think you can own a better asset than community. So, and it grows itself, or you can get it to grow itself, right? So, um, I'd rather have a community than 10 million bucks in the bank, right?
Yep.
Flexibility wise and everything. So,
Do you have a free school group or is it just paid?
I have a free school group called Royalty Rock Stars. Uh, so the it could be a mistake to name them so close, but the big idea behind that is you have your artists and your talent, and then you have your promoters, right? You have your Elvis Presleys, and then you have your Colonels, right? It was his promoter. You have your Mike Tyson and your boxers, and you have Don Kings, right? So Royalty Ronin are the promotion side. They don't necessarily want to be the face. They just want to be the people behind the scenes that make more money than you know, than the artists actually do by working with several of them. But Rockstar is more like for uh people that are more the artist, and they want to learn some of the business side. But my whole goal is like most of them, if they learn like how to do licensing or how to do an auction, they're not going to want to do it on their own. So I'm going to feed those guys. They're a feeder for my Ronin, right? That I know right now, if I went to Rockstar and say, hey, I've got some people that'll be your auction wingman, they'll go do this for you. I'd probably get 10 or 20 people, then I can just feed them over to my Ronin people. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
most of the time artists don't want to get in the business side of things, right? Jimmy Buffett wants to go sing. He doesn't want to go sell Margaritaville logos on flip flops, right? Even though that's where his billions came from. Every once in a while, you get an outlier like Gene Simmons, right? Who loves to do the licensing part of Kiss and put it on lunch boxes and all that kind of stuff. But most of the time, the artists don't want to fuck with that, right? So that's kind of the whole goal. So I'm teaching licensing there too, but really probably Ronin is the more uh, business side of it. Surprisingly the auction, showing people the auction is probably I got the biggest people in there just showing people the auction stuff, right? So again, like I'll just say, hey, I know some of you guys have run auctions, but like a majority of you haven't. I can only assume that time is the big issue, right? I've got some people that'll do it for you if you want to give them a percentage. Like, let me know if you'd be open for that, right? Comment, or poll, and then I'll put a guy in there and tap the crap out of them to I'll just bring in, like, I'll say, hey, I'll set up a dude who wants to do it, right? And like, okay, here's, you got 20 leads now, like set up your coffee dates, right? If that makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I want to get my audience off of Facebook. I feel like it's just, you know, I can't stand being even in a group anymore.
At night, like I sleep way better at night, like um you know, and I just don't understand like the people that are I understand some of them why they're sticking to Facebook so hard, but in your Facebook group, the reach sucks. They keep saying, yeah, well, people are on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. But like, if you got 4,000 people in your group, you're lucky you can see it right in your stats. Like if 1,000 people see it, right? I made a post in my school to 400 people this morning and got 60. Like, I'm not talking about like why thumbs up. I'm talking about like big, long, uh, paragraphs of what they think about the offer, how much they think they should be priced for, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and everybody gets it, right? And you can email them. right? You can email them the post. Now I got their emails too, because you can only email them from the platform every 72 hours, but you can send email right to that post too. Just fucking
Yeah.
crushes. Like, and you get 100% reach.
Hmm.
Oh, we're not gonna send them out to all those people, so you get 100% reach on that, right? So it's true. It may be a little bit harder to like pull somebody off Facebook and get them in the school, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's like,
No, I think it's probably a good filter.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's worked out pretty well for me. It's like, hey, oh, I don't want to be on another platform. Okay, awesome, right? You know, um, it's just not that big of a uh passion or problem for them. Like if I've got a problem that I need solved, right? I'm gonna join whatever platform. I hate Discord, but I've been on Discord several times because they had what I wanted. I didn't say, "Oh, on Discord, I'm gonna do it." Right?
Yep.
My mind just can't wrap around Discord. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, I get in these, I don't understand where shit is, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Um, but you know, but I'll sign up for something like it's Discord. I'm kind of like, okay. But if it's solving a problem for me enough, I'm gonna get on there. So
For sure. Cool. Yeah, I need to do that. Just got to pull the trigger.
yeah, I've never found a conversion engine with as much horsepower under the hood. That's why I like it. It's like, it's simple too, but the ability to make a community post, email, and DM them, like have somebody else DM them, right? Damn. And the DM response is really good. Like at first I was like, oh, they're not going to be on the app. It won't be so great or whatever. But man, I think it's better than I get better response than on Facebook chat. I think some people get so many Facebook chats or whatever, right? They ignore them or whatever, right? So like just crushing it with school DMs and polls and getting them to raise their hands. It's the
Cool.
plat for tappers for sure. Almost wish I could white label it. They got Mexican music playing. They're banging away up there. They got Mexican music playing. It's they're having a good time up there. It's a beautiful day today. So, but they're doing the roof. I'll be glad when it's done.
Yeah.
Marcus, you got anything, buddy?
I'm good, dude. I forgot you guys have a time change. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, so we don't have time change here. So that's why I showed up right on the dot. I'm like, cool. Wait, we're wrapping up?
We were just moving. I used to go to school and then I'd come home and it'd be empty. They'd move and then I'd find them though. Like, damn it, you found this again, right? So, all right, then. Well, awesome, everybody. I'll catch you guys later. Have a great week.
Cool. Thanks, Travis.